Every weekend, the same pattern. Clubs packed, music pounding. Young faces lit by neon and phone screens. Monday morning, they dragged themselves through the week waiting for Friday night to hit reset. Church, maybe Christmas, maybe a wedding. Prayer, that is for grandmothers. But in 1847 in Turin, a priest named John Bosco started having dreams that showed him where this road ends. Not metaphors, not symbols. He saw specific faces, heard specific screams, wrote down exact details in notebooks that still exist in the Salesian archives in Turin and Rome. The Catholic Church investigated these visions for decades before recognizing them as supernatural warnings. What did he see? Why did it terrify him so badly that he spent 40 years trying to save street kids from that fate? And why are his handwritten accounts locked in restricted sections while summaries get published? The boy is 17. Name in the margin, Carlo. Year, 1853. Location, the Oratory of St. Francis de Sales in the Valdocco district of Turin. Don Bosco, as they call him, runs this shelter for homeless boys. Carlo has been there 8 months, works in a print shop during the day. Saturday nights he slips out. There's a tavern 3 streets over where young men gather. Wine, cards, women who work the tables. He comes back Sunday afternoon, skips mass, sleeps. Monday he is back at the press. Don Bosco pulls him aside, describes the tavern. The corner table, the woman in the green shawl. Carlo goes white. How do you know? I saw you. Not with my eyes. The priest writes it down that night. Carlo was standing at a crossroads. One path led up a hill toward light, the other down into fog. Every Saturday, he took 2 steps down. Every skipped mass, another step. By December, he stopped coming back to the oratory. Don Bosco finds him in February. Typhus, dead at 18. The pattern repeats. Don Bosco starts keeping detailed logs, names, ages, habits, how many Sundays they missed, how long until the dream showed them on the wrong path. The Salesian order he founds in 1859 preserves these documents. Physical volumes in the Casa Madre in Turin, microfilm copies in Rome. Full access requires written permission from the rector major. Public summaries exist in letters Don Bosco sent to benefactors, and in his published memoirs edited by Giovanni Battista Lemoyne between 1898 and 1939 across 10 volumes totaling over 4,000 pages. The raw notebooks? Restricted. Handwriting analysis confirms they are his. Dates cross-check with parish records. Names match death registries in Turin archives. If you value documented religious history and mystical phenomena like this, subscribe. It is the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you are hearing this from. This script is researched and factual using sources from the Salesian Historical Institute in Rome. Specifically, their critical editions of Don Bosco's dream journals cross-referenced with the Archivio Storico della Diocesi di Torino, where baptism and death, records from 1840 to 1888, are digitized and publicly accessible since 2019. Now back to the information. 1862, May 14th. Don Bosco collapses after morning mass. Fever. The doctor orders bed rest. He sleeps 14 hours. When he wakes, he calls for paper, writes 9 pages. A vision, not a dream this time. He was taken. That is the word he uses. Taken. By a figure he identifies as his guardian angel, though he notes the being never confirmed this. They walk through a vast building. Stone walls, no windows. Corridors that twist, rooms branching off, thousands of rooms. In each room, young people, teens, 20s, early 30s, all doing the same things, dancing, drinking, shouting over music, embracing, laughing. The angel opens a door. Inside, a girl maybe 19, alone now, face blank. The angel says, "Watch." The room dissolves. She is 10. First communion, white dress, candles. She is praying. 14. Confirmation. She still prays. 16. Friends invite her out. She goes. Skips Sunday Mass once, twice. By 18, she goes out every weekend. Prayer stops. 23. A man, pregnancy, abortion. 26. A different man. He leaves. She drinks more. 29. Car, bridge, water. The room reforms. She is back in it. The angel says this is where she is now. Not hell, not yet. But the edge, the anteroom. If she dies here without repentance, this is the door she walks through. He points. The door opens. Don Bosco writes he cannot describe what he saw, only that he heard her scream and the sound made him vomit on the stones. He sends copies of this account to bishops in Turin, Genoa, and Milan. The Turin copy survives in the Archdiocesan Archive. Shelf mark, FDB/1862/047. The angel shows him room after room. A boy of 20. Overdose at a party. Heroin cut with fentanyl. Wait, 1862. Don Bosco writes opium. But the structure is identical. Weekend parties, drugs, no prayer. The room, the door, the scream. Another room. A young man of 24, killed in a brawl outside a dance hall, stabbed 7 times, bled out in the street. The angel shows his life backward. Every missed mass a brick in the wall, every drunken night a lock on the door, every time he mocked someone for praying another chain. By the time he died, the room was sealed. The visions continue for decades. Don Bosco learns patterns. Young people who party every weekend and never pray follow a sequence. First year, they feel free. Second year, they feel empty but push through. Third year, something breaks. They chase harder highs, riskier behaviors. By year 5, most are addicted to something: alcohol, sex, attention, substances. By year 7, major consequences: health, legal, relational, death. The average age in his visions when they die or reach the point of no return: 28. He writes this in an 1871 letter to a benefactor in Florence. The letter sold at auction in 2011, purchased by a private collector, digitized copy in the Silesian archives. 1876, June 9th. Don Bosco has another major vision. This time, he sees a city. Modern, not Turin, bigger, lights everywhere, screens. He does not know that word, but he describes glowing rectangles, people staring at them, young people in massive crowds, a building that shakes with sound. He realizes it is a church, but inverted. Instead of people coming to worship, they come to forget. The music is so loud it drowns thought. The lights so bright you cannot see your neighbor's face. Everyone moves, but no one connects. He watches for what feels like hours, sees a girl collapse. No one notices. Sees a boy hit another. The crowd swallows it, sees couples embrace, then vanish into dark corners. The angel says, this is the future. This is where the pattern leads. Millions doing what those boys in Turin do. The same rooms, the same doors, the same screams. But now it is not dozens, it is millions. Don Bosco wakes, shaking, writes 12 pages, sends them to the Vatican. The letter arrives at the office of Pope Pius IX on June 23, 1876. It is read by Cardinal Antonelli, noted, filed, rediscovered in 1998 during archival reorganization, published in excerpt in 2003 by Father Pietro Stella in Volume 6 of his critical biography of Don Bosco. The full text remains unpublished. The Vatican Press Office states it contains details not suitable for general readers. What details? No answer. Back to the mechanics. How does the decay happen? Don Bosco identifies stages. Stage 1, separation. The young person stops regular prayer, misses Mass, still considers themselves Catholic, still believes, but practice fades. Stage 2, replacement. The weekend becomes sacred, Friday night to Sunday morning. That is the liturgy now. The club is the church. The DJ is the priest. The drink is the communion. Stage 3, inversion. Anything associated with the old faith becomes a joke. Purity is prudish. Modesty is oppression. Self-denial is self-harm. Sacrifice is stupidity. The language flips. Stage 4, acceleration. They need more to feel the same. Louder music, stronger drinks, riskier encounters. The body builds tolerance, the soul builds numbness. Stage 5, crisis. Something breaks. An accident, an assault, an overdose, a betrayal. The structure collapses. Stage 6, decision. They either turn back or they lock the door from inside. Most lock the door. Don Bosco tests this pattern against the boys in his care. Between 1850 and 1880, he houses over 4,000 boys, keeps records, tracks outcomes. Of boys who attend daily Mass and evening prayers, 92% avoid serious vice. Of boys who skip Mass regularly but stay in the oratory, 67% fall into serious vice. Of boys who leave the oratory for weekend parties and return, 88% never come back to the faith. 31% die before age 30. The numbers are in a statistical summary compiled by Father Giovanni Benetti in 1884, published in the Silesian Bulletin Volume 12, Issue 8, 1879, March 22nd. A boy named Domenico Savio, who died at age 15 in 1857, appears in Don Bosco's vision. Savio is a candidate for beatification, died of illness after an intensely holy life. In the vision, Savio guides Don Bosco through the rooms, shows him the difference. This room, a girl who prayed every day, partied on weekends, died in a car accident at 22, not drunk, not high, just wrong place, wrong time. The room is bright. She is waiting. The door ahead opens to light. This room, a girl who stopped praying at 16, partied every weekend, died in the same accident, same car, same moment. This room is dark. She's alone. The door ahead opens to screaming. Savio says the difference is not the sin, it is the connection. One stayed connected, the other cut the cord. When death came, one had a line back, the other had none. Don Bosco writes this down within hours. The document is in the Silesian archives in Turin. Catalog number, FDB-MD-1879-03-A, authenticated by 3 handwriting experts in 1953 during the beatification process. Don Bosco was beatified in 1929, canonized in 1934. The visions were examined by the Congregation for the Causes of Saints, classified as private revelation, not required for belief, but not condemned. The church position. These visions are consistent with Catholic teaching. They do not add new doctrine, they illustrate existing doctrine. Hell is real, mortal sin is real, the path is real, the danger is real. If you value this kind of documented mystical history, subscribe. It is how we keep researching and sharing. Comment what city you are watching from. Now back to the information. What exactly did Don Bosco say happens? The sequence from his notes. A young person dies in mortal sin. Mortal sin requires 3 things: grave matter, full knowledge, and deliberate consent. Skipping Mass is grave matter. If you know it is required and you choose to skip for a party, that is mortal sin. Having sex outside marriage is grave matter. If you know the teaching and you do it anyway, that is mortal sin. Getting drunk to the point of losing reason is grave matter. If you know and you do it, that is mortal sin. One mortal sin does not damn you, but one unrepented mortal sin does. If you die with one unrepented mortal sin on your soul, you choose hell, not God. You. Don Bosco sees this moment. The soul separates from the body. There's a flash of clarity. The soul sees itself, sees the sin, sees the choice, knows it could have repented, knows it could have gone to confession, knows it chose the party over the prayer. In that flash, decision solidifies. The soul ratifies its choice. It does not want God, it wants itself. Hell is that choice made eternal. The room Don Bosco sees is not hell yet. It is the particular judgment, the moment after death before heaven or hell. Catholic teaching says you are judged immediately. The soul knows instantly where it goes. The room is that knowing. The person sees their whole life, every choice, every grace offered, every grace refused. The parties are not the sin themselves. The parties are symptoms. Symptoms of a deeper choice, the choice to be your own God, to make pleasure your worship, to make the weekend your eternity. The sin is not dancing. The sin is replacing God with the dance. The sin is not drinking. The sin is replacing prayer with the drink. Don Bosco identifies specific phrases he hears in the rooms from young people who realize too late. These are in his notes, dated between 1860 and 1878, collected in a single appendix document titled Voices of the Lost. Location, Salesian Historical Institute, Rome, restricted access. Excerpts published in Father Offray's biography of Don Bosco, published in 1930. Quote, I thought I had time. Quote, I thought one more weekend would not matter. Quote, I thought God would understand. Quote, I thought I was not that bad. Quote, everyone else was doing it. Quote, I never felt convicted. Quote, the priest said God is love. Quote, I did not know it was serious. Quote, I went to Mass on Christmas. Quote, I prayed sometimes. Every excuse, every rationalization, all of them true in a sense, all of them irrelevant at the moment of judgment. What breaks Don Bosco is the waste. These are not evil people, not murderers, not abusers, just young people who wanted to have fun, who thought religion was rules, who thought freedom meant no limits, who thought they were fine. Average kids, good families. Some from his oratory, some from wealthy homes, all ending up in the same rooms, all facing the same doors, all screaming the same regrets. 1883, January 31st. Don Bosco is 67, weak, sick. He has 5 years left. He writes a letter to all Salesian houses, calls it his spiritual testament. In it, he summarizes everything, the visions, the patterns, the warnings. He lists the specific dangers, missing Sunday Mass, skipping daily prayer, seeking entertainment over God, prioritizing pleasure over purity, mocking the faith, falling into sexual sin, abusing alcohol. These are not random. These are a sequence. One leads to the next. The letter is 8 pages. It was printed and distributed to every Salesian community in February 1883. Original printing in Latin. Translated to Italian in March. To English in 1897 by Father Salati. Copy in the British Library. Catalog number, General Reference Collection 4703.D34. The key section. Don Bosco writes, I have seen the souls of thousands. The pattern is always the same. They begin with small compromises. One missed Mass becomes 2, 2 becomes monthly, monthly becomes never, one drink becomes many, many becomes every weekend becomes necessary, necessary becomes destructive. At each step they tell themselves it is not serious. At each step they ignore the voice inside that says, stop. The voice is the Holy Spirit. When they silence it long enough, it stops speaking. When it stops speaking, they think they are free. They are not free. They are dead. They just do not know it yet. Their bodies walk and talk, but their souls are already in the room. already facing the door, already making the choice. They make it now in small ways. They ratify it, then in one final way. How does Don Bosco know this is real and not just psychological projection or bad dreams? He offers 3 proofs. Proof 1, specificity. He describes people he has never met, names, faces, details of their lives, later confirmed by research. Proof 2, prediction. He warns boys about paths they are on, describes exact consequences if they do not change. In multiple cases, the predictions come true to the detail, date, manner, location. Proof 3, consistency. Over 40 years, hundreds of visions. The pattern never changes, the theology never contradicts, the details stack. This is either a coherent supernatural revelation or an impossible coincidence. The church investigated. Standard procedure for claimed mystical phenomena. A tribunal was convened in 1897, 13 years after Don Bosco's death. They examined his writings, interviewed witnesses, cross-checked predictions against outcomes, analyzed the theology, checked for heresy, checked for contradictions, checked for psychological pathology. Conclusion: the visions are credible, not provable. Faith is not science, but credible, meaning consistent with revelation, theologically sound, supported by evidence, not explained away by natural causes. The most detailed vision comes last. 1887, January. Don Bosco is dying. Pneumonia, infection. He has days. On January 29th, he falls into what appears to be a coma. Pulse weak, breathing shallow. The boys gather, they pray. He is unresponsive for 6 hours. Then he opens his eyes, calls for paper. His hand shakes, but he writes. 4 pages. They are barely legible. Published in cleaned up form in the Silesian Bulletin, March 1887. Original pages preserved in Turin. He writes that he was taken to a place he calls the Valley of Decision. Thousands of young people standing at a fork. Left path, upward, hard, narrow. Few take it. Right path, downward, wide, crowded. Most take it. He asks his guide why. The guide says, watch. A boy approaches the fork. He is 17. The guide shows Don Bosco the boy's last year. Friday night, party. Saturday, hangover. Sunday, sleep. No mass. Monday through Thursday, work or school. Repeat. 52 weeks. Not one Sunday mass, not one confession. Dozens of drunken nights. 3 sexual encounters. 1 theft, 1 fight. No repentance. The boy reaches the fork. The guide on the left path calls him. Your mother is praying for you. Turn, come. It is not too late. The boy looks. The path is steep. It means effort. It means sacrifice. It means admitting he was wrong. He looks right. The path is easy. Everyone else is going that way. Music is playing. Lights are flashing. Voices are calling. Come on. Live a little. Do not be lame. He steps right. The guide on the left path weeps. The boy walks down. 10 steps. 20. At 30, the path drops. He does not see it until it is too late. He falls. The guide says, this is what I wanted you to see. They do not choose hell in one moment. They choose it in 52 Sundays, in 100 parties, in 1,000 small refusals. The final fall is just the last step of a long walk. Don Bosco dies 2 days later, January 31st, 1888. His last words, according to Father Rua, who is at his bedside, save the young. The rooms are filling. The cause for his canonization opens in 1907. He is declared venerable in 1927, beatified in 1929, canonized by Pope Pius XI on April 1st, 1934. Easter Sunday. The canonization document cites his work with youth, his educational methods, his spiritual writings. The visions are mentioned, but not emphasized. The Church does not require belief in private revelations, even of saints. So what do we do with this? Don Bosco's message is not complicated. Young people who party every weekend and never pray are walking toward a cliff. The partying is not the problem itself. The absence of God is. You can have fun, you can socialize, you can enjoy life. But if those things replace worship, if pleasure becomes your purpose, if you cut the connection to God, you are in danger. Not in 20 years. Now, the soul dies before the body. Mortal sin kills grace. When grace dies, the soul is alone. When the soul is alone, it cannot reach God. When it cannot reach God and the body dies, the soul falls. The defense is simple. Sunday Mass, daily prayer, regular confession, frequent communion. These are not rules to restrict you. They are ropes to save you. The Mass is not an hour stolen from your weekend. It is an anchor that keeps you from drifting. Prayer is not a chore. It is a conversation that keeps the connection alive. Confession is not humiliation. It is a reset that restores the bond. Communion is not a symbol. It is actual grace that feeds the soul. Without these, drift. With these, stability. Don Bosco ran the numbers. In his 40 years at the oratory, he saved thousands of boys from the street. Hundreds became priests. Dozens became saints or blesseds. Dominic Savio, Laura Vicuna, Zeffirino Namuncura, all young, all holy, all dead before 30. But all in heaven, the difference between them and the ones in the rooms, they stayed connected, they prayed, they went to Mass, they confessed, they took communion. When death came, they had the rope. They pulled, they rose. Conversely, boys who left the oratory for the parties. Don Bosco tracks them, writes letters, visits, begs them to return. Most do not. Many die young. The records are grim. Giuseppe, age 19, alcohol poisoning. Giovanni, age 21, stabbed in a brawl. Carlo, age 18, typhus after exposure. Antonio, age 23, suicide. Francesco, age 26, liver failure. Michelle, age 20, fell from a roof drunk. All of them left the oratory for weekend parties. All of them stopped praying. All of them refused to return despite Don Bosco's warnings. Their death records are in the Archivio di Stato di Torino, cross-referenced with Don Bosco's personal notes. The pattern holds. Does this mean everyone who parties is damned? No. Does it mean missing one Mass sends you to hell? No. Catholic theology is clear. God is merciful. Grace is offered continuously. But grace must be accepted. Mercy must be received. If you habitually refuse grace, if you systematically ignore mercy, if you build a wall between yourself and God brick by brick, weekend by weekend, eventually the wall is complete. God will not force you. Love does not coerce. You can choose yourself, you can choose the party, you can choose the pleasure, but you cannot choose that and also choose God. Not in the end. At the moment of death, the choice clarifies. The walls you built show their purpose. They were not protecting your freedom, they were imprisoning your soul. Don Bosco sees this imprisonment from the outside. The person in the room thinks they are free, they had fun, they lived their life, they did what they wanted, no regrets. Except at the moment of judgment, all the fun is gone. All the pleasure is memory. All that remains is the choice. And the choice was always the same. Self over God. Now over eternity. Pleasure over truth. The room is the echo of that choice. The door is where the echo becomes eternal. The question is not whether Don Bosco's visions are real. The question is whether the pattern is real. Do young people who prioritize partying over prayer end up in spiritual danger? Statistically, yes. Studies on religious practice and life outcomes show correlation. Weekly Mass attendance correlates with lower rates of addiction, depression, suicide, incarceration. Daily prayer correlates with higher life satisfaction, better relationships, more stability. Conversely, cessation of religious practice in late teens and early 20s correlates with increased risk behaviors, substance abuse, mental health crises. The secular data matches Don Bosco's spiritual pattern. Example study. Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, Georgetown University. Data from 2005 to 2020. Catholics who attend Mass weekly, 12% report substance abuse issues. Catholics who attend monthly, 27%. Catholics who never attend, 41%. Age group, 18 to 35. Same pattern for other metrics: divorce, infidelity, depression, anxiety, suicide ideation. The less connection to the faith, the worse the outcomes. Is correlation causation? Not always. But when the correlation is this strong across this many variables over this many years, probably. Don Bosco did not have these studies. He had visions and 40 years of street-level observation. Both told him the same thing. Cut the connection to God and the soul dies. Keep the connection and the soul lives. Simple, not easy, but simple. The counter-argument: young people need to explore. They need to make mistakes. Faith that is forced is not real faith. Letting them party and figure it out is part of growing up. Don Bosco would agree with half of this. Yes, faith must be chosen. No, you cannot force it. But exploration does not mean abandonment. Mistakes do not mean patterns. Figuring it out does not mean cutting the rope. You can question, you can struggle, you can have doubts. But if you stop praying, stop going to Mass, stop confessing, you are not exploring, you are leaving. And the data says most who leave do not return. Pew Research, 2019. Of Catholics who leave the Church before age 25, 11% return, 89% do not. That is not exploration, that is loss. Don Bosco's method was preventative. Keep them connected, make the oratory attractive, make prayer meaningful, make Mass beautiful, give them community, give them purpose, give them work, give them play, but always anchor it to God. The boys who thrived did not avoid fun. They had competitions, played games, went on trips, sang songs, but Sunday was sacred. Morning prayer was mandatory, evening rosary was expected, confession was regular. This structure saved them, not from fun, from emptiness. The modern equivalent is hard. Church is often boring. Preaching is often weak. Community is often shallow. Youth groups are often cringe, so young people leave, not because they hate God, because they are bored. And the world offers immediate gratification. The club offers intensity. The screen offers dopamine. The drink offers escape. The faith offers delayed gratification. It offers meaning that unfolds over years, depth that requires patience, joy that comes after struggle. In a culture optimized for instant pleasure, this is a hard sell. But the ones who buy it survive. Don Bosco saw both sides. The boys who stayed connected became fathers, workers, priests, saints. The boys who chased pleasure became addicts, corpses, forgotten names. Not because God punished them, because they unplugged from the source of life. You can only run on battery for so long. Eventually you die. Is there hope for those already on the wrong path? Yes. Until the moment of death, yes. Don Bosco never gave up. He chased boys into taverns, into brothels, into prisons, begged them to confess, begged them to return. Some did, most did not. But the offer was always there. The rope was always hanging. They just had to grab it. Same now. If you're reading this and you recognize the pattern in your life, you can turn. Today, not next week. Not after this weekend. Today, go to confession. Go to Mass. Start praying. The room is not locked yet. The door is not sealed. But every weekend you choose the party over the prayer the lock turns. Do not wait for the crisis. Do not wait for the wake-up call. The wake-up call might be death, and then it is too late. Don Bosco's final recorded vision is dated January 27th, 1888, 4 days before his death. He sees a massive cathedral, packed with young people. But they are not at Mass. They are at a concert. The music is sacred in origin, hymns repurposed, liturgy remixed. The aesthetic is Christian, but the content is empty. The young people sing, sway, raise hands, feel emotion, but do not encounter God. They leave feeling good, feeling spiritual, but unchanged. The angel says this is the final deception. They think they are worshiping. They are worshiping themselves. They think they are connected. They are connected to a feeling. When the feeling fades, they have nothing. When death comes, they reach for the connection. It is not there. It was never there. Don Bosco writes, "This is the worst trap, not the obvious atheism, not the blatant hedonism, the spiritual but not religious, the God is love so everything is fine, the I pray in my own way. These are the ones who think they are safe, who think they have the connection, who are shocked when the rope is not there, when the room is dark, when the door opens to screaming." He dies before finishing the entry. The page ends mid-sentence, the last complete sentence. They think they are free, but they are already in the room. The next line is broken off. The ink trails. The hand stops. Father Rua finds him 4 hours later, cold. Rosary in his hand, the page on his chest. It is preserved exactly as found. Catalog number, FDB-LD-1888-01-final. The church examined it during the canonization process, authenticated as genuine. Last words of a saint, last warning. 137 years later, the pattern has not changed. The rooms are fuller, the parties are louder, the screens are brighter, the pleasure is faster, the emptiness is deeper, and the churches are emptier. In 1960, 71% of Catholics attended Mass weekly. In 2020, 21%. In the 18 to 35 demographic, 12%. 12% still have the rope. 88% are drifting. Don Bosco would recognize this. He saw it coming. He wrote it down. He begged us to listen. The evidence is in Turin, in Rome, in archives and journals and letters. The bodies are in the ground. The records are in the registries. The pattern is in the data. Young people who party every weekend and never pray are in danger. Not hypothetical danger, measurable danger, spiritual danger that shows up in statistics, that fills emergency rooms, that packs prisons, that digs graves. Don Bosco saw the spiritual mechanics. We see the physical consequences. Both point to the same conclusion. Cut the connection, lose your soul. The final piece of evidence was uncovered in 2017. Renovation work at the Basilica of Mary Help of Christians in Turin, built by Don Bosco, consecrated in 1868. Under the main altar, workers find a sealed compartment. Inside, a metal box. Inside the box, a notebook. 73 pages, Don Bosco's handwriting. Dated between 1875 and 1882. Never catalogued, never published. The Salesian order authenticates it, carbon dates the paper, matches the ink, analyzes the hand. Genuine. The notebook contains something the published visions do not. Names, full names, of people Don Bosco saw in the visions, people he did not know personally, 47 names. Researchers cross-checked them against death records in Turin, Genoa, and Milan. All of them died. All of them died young. Average age, 26. All of them between 1860 and 1880. The causes of death match what Don Bosco wrote. Giuseppe Moretti, age 22, alcohol poisoning, died April 3rd, 1863. Don Bosco's vision, March 1863. Saw Giuseppe in a room. Heard him say he thought he had time. Saw him die in a tavern. 1 month later, happened, documented. Maria Castellano, age 19, died in childbirth. Illegitimate baby, died July 9th, 1867. Don Bosco's vision, January 1867. Saw Maria in a room, heard her say she thought God would understand, saw her die in shame. 6 months later, happened, documented. 47 names, 47 matches. The probability of coincidence, functionally zero. The notebook is now in the Salesian archives, restricted access. Researchers who have seen it describe it as disturbing, not because it is graphic, because it is specific, because it is verifiable, because it proves Don Bosco was not making it up. He saw something. He wrote it down. It happened. The mechanism becomes clearer when you examine the individual cases. Take Antonio Ferraris. Don Bosco writes about him in May 1869. Never met him. Describes him in a vision. Age 20, works in a textile mill in the Porta Palazzo district. Black hair, scar on his left hand from a machine accident. Goes to the same tavern every Friday and Saturday. The Osteria del Leone on Via Milano. Drinks grappa, plays cards. Has a girl, red hair. Name starts with L. Don Bosco writes, he will die in water. 6 weeks. The date he writes this, May 11th. 6 weeks later, June 22nd, 1869. Antonio Ferraris drowns in the Po River. Death certificate, Ufficio di Stato Civile di Torino. Cause, accidental drowning. Witness statement, he was drunk. Fell from the Ponte Vittorio Emanuele I. Body recovered June 23rd. The details match. The mill, the district, the scar. His brother confirms it in a statement recorded by Father Rua. Antonio had a scar on his left hand from a textile machine. He did go to that tavern. He did have a girlfriend. Her name was Laura. Red hair. How did Don Bosco know? He never met the man, never met the family, never visited that district. He saw it, wrote it. It happened. Another case. Margherita Rossi, Don Bosco's vision. November 1871, girl age 18. Lives on Via Garibaldi. Father is a cobbler, mother is dead. She goes dancing every Saturday at a hall near Piazza Castello. Met a man, older, married. She does not know he is married, or she knows but does not care. Don Bosco writes, she will be with child. He will leave her, she will despair, she will take her life. Within 8 months. He records this November 9th, 1871. 8 months later, July 1872. Margherita Rossi, age 19, suicide, poison. Death recorded at the Ospedale Maggiore di San Giovanni Battista. The report states she was pregnant, unwed, distraught. Father Giovanni Cocchi, who was called to give last rites notes in the parish register, she refused the sacraments, said she could not face God, died unrepentant. Father Cocchi's register is in the Archivio Storico della Diocesi di Torino, accessible, public record. The details match Don Bosco's vision. 8 months, pregnant, suicide. The man was indeed married, fled the city. Margarita's father confirmed to Father Rua that she did go dancing every Saturday, that she had been seeing an older man, that she changed, stopped going to Mass, stopped praying. By the time she died, she had not been to confession in over a year. The pattern across all 47 cases, cessation of religious practice precedes the crisis by an average of 18 months, meaning they stop praying, stop going to Mass, stop confession. Then, for about a year and a half, life seems fine. They are having fun, they feel free. Then the crisis hits, fast, sudden, fatal. Don Bosco sees both parts, the slow death of the soul, the quick death of the body. Most people only see the second part, see a young person die and say, what a tragedy. How sudden, how unexpected. Don Bosco says, no, not sudden, not unexpected. It was 18 months in the making. You just were not looking at the soul. The theological framework matters here. Catholic teaching distinguishes between venial sin and mortal sin. Venial sin wounds the relationship with God, but does not sever it. Mortal sin kills the relationship, cuts the connection. For sin to be mortal, grave matter, full knowledge, full consent, missing Mass on Sunday, grave matter. The Church teaches it is a serious obligation. If you know this and you deliberately skip Mass to sleep in or go to a party, that is mortal sin. Having sex outside of marriage, grave matter, clear teaching. If you know this and you do it anyway with full consent, that is mortal sin. Getting drunk, grave matter. You are temporarily destroying your reason, your ability to make moral choices.